alone in the house. Until the technician knocked. Then everything got weird. Heartfelt era, a real infidelity story. Have you ever felt a shift in the air before anything actually happened? Like a warning disguised as silence, almost imperceptible, until it's too late. That's what it felt like that Tuesday afternoon. The house was unusually still, and the usual comfort I found in solitude suddenly felt like a prelude to something off. My husband, Drew, had left early for a business trip. The kids were with my sister for the week, and I had the house all to myself for once. I told myself I'd spend the time reorganizing the guest room, binging old comfort shows, and maybe, finally, finishing that novel. Instead, the doorbell rang. And the moment I opened the door to the cable technician, tall, warm-eyed, and slightly familiar, my stomach sank, and I realized this week would not go as planned. Because sometimes, the most intimate betrayals don't happen in the bedroom. They begin with a conversation. I'm Amanda, 39, suburban mom of 2, wife of 12 years. I teach literature at the local high school, so metaphors and buried meanings are kinda my thing. Lately though, I'd been feeling like I was living inside one. Our marriage, Drew's and mine, had become one of those stories where the characters move around each other like strangers in the same frame. Perfect on paper, cold in practice. Drew is an accountant, methodical, brilliant, but often distant. We weren't always like this. There was a time when he used to leave sticky notes in my lunchbox or whisper ridiculous poetry in my ear while we folded laundry. But that version of us had slowly eroded under the weight of parenthood, deadlines, and unspoken disappointments. The week he left for Atlanta, I barely kissed him goodbye. The house felt different when it was just me. Empty, but also full of old echoes. Conversations that ended before they began, touches that had turned into routine. I didn't realize how much I missed being seen until I wasn't even looking for it anymore. That morning the Wi-Fi had been spotty. Of all weeks, right? I called the company. They said someone could come by that afternoon. I didn't expect it to matter. But when the technician stepped inside, I felt a jolt. Not romantic, not sexual. Just a weird tingle of recognition. "Jake," he said, offering a smile that did something to the silence in the room. "We met years ago, I think. You were at Ryan's party." Ryan, my college boyfriend. The one who broke my heart by sleeping with my roommate. And blinked. "You're wow. Hey. I remember you." He was Ryan's roommate. The guy who always kept his distance, who once offered me a tissue when I sobbed in their kitchen. He hadn't changed much. Still had those kind eyes, that gentle way of occupying space without demanding it. He got to work in the den while I hovered awkwardly in the kitchen. But there was a pull, something unspoken that made me linger instead of disappearing into another room. And when he asked, "So, how's life turned out?" it felt more intimate than it had any right to. Jake fixed the router within 10 minutes. But he didn't leave. He asked if he could test the signal strength upstairs. I said yes, even though I knew it didn't take that long. Part of me wanted to keep talking, to feel seen. To remember who I was before mom and wife became the first lines of my identity. Talk. About teaching. About music. He'd become a part-time sound engineer and was only doing tech gigs while building his studio. There was something grounding in the way he looked at me, like he saw beyond the mask I didn't even know I was wearing. We ended up in the guest room, of all places. He set his tablet down, fiddled with the signal bars, but kept glancing at me. "You always had this presence," he said. "Back in college. Like, you were always waiting for someone to notice." That shouldn't have hit me the way it did. "I didn't think anyone saw that," I said, softer than I intended. "I did." There it was, that subtle tilt. Emotional proximity disguised as nostalgia. And I should have stepped back. But I didn't. We sat on the edge of the bed. I felt my knee brush his. My heart did this irrational flutter that reminded me of my younger self, the one who used to believe in cosmic accidents. He smelled faintly of cedar and something warm. Not cologne. Just human and alive in a way I hadn't felt around someone in a long time. "I always thought you deserved better than Ryan," he said. I laughed. "I'm not sure I did." He looked at me. "You still do." Silence. Thick and too loud. "I'm married, Jake," I finally said. My voice barely above a whisper. "I know." Another beat. His hand was close to mine. I could feel the heat radiating off his skin. "I'm not trying to ruin anything," he added. I guess I wanted you to know. You mattered." Part of me broke right there. Because it wasn't flirtation, it was validation. And in a way that was more dangerous. I walked him to the door. But he didn't leave right away. His eyes searched mine. For what I wasn't sure. Then he leaned in. Not fast. Not greedy. Just close enough that I could stop him. And I didn't. Our lips touched. Softly, briefly. But the weight of it was staggering. Pulled back first. My breath caught. "Jake." "I know," he said, stepping away. And then he was gone. But the echo of that kiss stayed. It tangled in my thoughts, threaded through the silence of the house. I wanted to blame loneliness or nostalgia, or even some cosmic alignment. But deep down I knew it was something I had allowed. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, Drew's side cold and neatly made, replaying that kiss in my head like a song I couldn't shut off. It wasn't about desire. It was about being seen. And that realization scared me more than the kiss itself. When Drew called the next day, I answered with a lump in my throat. "How's everything?" he asked. "Quiet," I replied truthfully. "The technician came. Fixed the Wi-Fi." He chuckled. "Finally. Maybe you'll be able to stream again." But I wasn't watching anything. I was replaying moments. The ones where Drew didn't notice the way my shoulders slumped after a hard day. The way I no longer reached for his hand under the dinner table. I remembered our anniversary dinner last month. How we'd eaten in silence, both checking our phones between bites. When had we become that couple? That night I did something reckless. I looked Jake up on social media. He hadn't messaged me. Hadn't even followed me. It almost disappointed me. I debated messaging him. But stopped myself. Not because I didn't want to, but because I did. Instead I turned inward. Sat in the guest room where everything started. And I cried. For the woman I used to be. For the one I was now. For the marriage I still wanted to believe in but no longer recognized. The truth wasn't that I had cheated. Not physically. Not really. But emotionally. I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. And when Drew returned home 2 days later, carrying a souvenir mug and the same distracted smile, something inside me broke. Not out of guilt, but out of grief.